Good morning, everybody. It's Liz Dexter-Mazza here with Parenting Through COVID-19. Oh, I'm on Instagram Live and now Facebook's taking a little time. Okay, there we are. There's Facebook now going. Good morning again, everybody. Welcome to Friday on Parenting Through COVID-19. I'm Liz Dexter-Mazza. I am definitely feeling a little tired this morning. Thus Jim is kindly bringing me my coffee again. So, it's Friday. For us, it is the Friday before spring break with our kids and our family. So this will be a very interesting week coming up. We are supposed to be out of town this week, and we're not. And so it's always harder for us, I think. Say good morning.
Good morning, I'm Jim Mazza.
It's always harder for us when we are home and have to work when the kids don't have school.
Yeah, definitely.
When we're on vacation, it's a lot easier because we can kind of fit that balance in both sides. Will you turn that little light on over there for me? I forgot to bring the backlight in today.
I can go get the backlight too.
Yeah, that might help if you get the backlight.
All right, let's go to bed.
Okay. So I thought we'd talk a little bit about that this morning. Give us a wave or a hi if you're here with us. We appreciate that you get up and join us, especially if you're in Seattle time, coming to join us this morning. So here's a couple things we're going to talk about this morning. Good morning, Shrek's Mix. Welcome. I'm glad you're here with us. I want to talk a couple things about dialectical thinking, getting away for spring break. If you've got spring break coming up in this next week, let us know because we want to hear what you're doing with your family as well during this time. And know what you're doing, what your plans are. Maybe you'll give us some ideas and what that will look like to manage for you. Because especially for Jim, like he still has to teach at the university all week. This is our high-end production where I'm like, oh, right, we should have a light there because that makes it easier for you all to see us. Is that better? Now you can see us a little better. I have to admit, we went to bed really late last night for us. We didn't go to bed till like 11 o'clock.
Yeah, we actually had the kids up a little bit later than usual. We were watching a show and it was a series, and all of a sudden the second one seemed really good compared to the first one, so we made the emotion-minded decision, like, yeah, let's see the next series. Let's go.
Can I be clear? That was you? Because we were all like, all right, let's go to bed. And you were like, no, let's watch the trailer. Oh, wait, it's 45 minutes long. Oh, that'll go to 10:30. Let's watch it anyway. And we all were just like, okay, Dad never wants to watch a movie.
Yeah, it's guilty.
And if Dad's saying yes, then we should go ahead and do this because it's a rare occasion. I'm pretty sure that was like the mindset of everybody that occurred last night. Why don't you go plug it in first and then we're there. Sorry. This is what happens when you stay up late and you are not fully in your head on all of this stuff. Good morning, Sheila. Thanks for joining us today. So back to that, I was saying that's why we're just a little discombobulated this morning because we stayed up watching a new series with the kids. Good morning, Gosha. And then we stayed up and watched the news a little bit later on that as well. After. All right. You keep talking about this, and then tell them why we want to talk about dialectical thinking today.
So, one of the reasons, so we stayed up, right? And the idea that we were trying to think about this morning was, what do we want to talk about? We want to talk about the possibilities of where we could have two things that seem kind of opposite on the face of things, right? Things that are on the opposite corners, yet there can be a middle ground. So it doesn't have to be black, it doesn't have to be white. You know, we sometimes get in those arguments or discussions with our kids about, well, it has to be this way or it has to be the completely the opposite of that, right? It's either right or it's wrong, it's black or it's white. And so we were discussing about just the different things regarding spring break that way, right? And should we go away, should we not? And, you know, we're trying to find what we say is a synthesis, right? A middle path that's there that would actually honor both types of things. Mm-hmm. And so we thought that maybe, go ahead.
And then the bigger conversation was, as we continue to talk about, how do we change our expectations around school?
Right.
And that is a big dialectical synthesis for us trying to figure it out on what to do around school. Because, you know, if you've been with us, you know we've been kind of talking quite a bit about this, like finding the balance between the expectations of our kids' schools and their academic work, which they seem to have quite a bit of. And I know it seems like it's compared to other schools, they have quite a bit. And also, it's just is what it is. We're not arguing that anymore. And how do we kind of find the balance on what are things we want to do, and if they don't get all their assignments in? And interestingly, where we've been talking about this at home, I've been not fully surprised, but a little surprised that our kids are more on the, no, we've got to get our assignments in. No, I have to do this. No, I can't have a 68 in a class, where I've started saying, like, it's okay with me if you have a 68 in that class. Like, we want to focus on math and your reading and grammar and spelling. Like, those are important things that I think they have to stay up on top of. Some of their other classes I'm not as concerned about, and they are. And I think part of it is one of them just, like, he has an expectation I get assigned something and I should do my work. That's not all the time in our world, but that's how he is about school. And another one who we have to watch, because he's going to do the, oh, you don't think school's that big of a deal? Okay, I won't do anything. And he's on the other side of the continuum. And so we have to figure out how we word things effectively, so one doesn't feel stressed about not doing his assignments, and the other one doesn't completely lets go of all of them. And our daughter will just do whatever we want her to do. I think it's actually helping to alleviate some of her stress that she won't have to, we're not going to have her do the assignments that she didn't finish for the week over the weekend. Like, she'll do an assignment in each of the categories, but she's not going to do the 3 assignments for each category.
So we've been wrestling with the fact that we certainly espouse and we teach and we train about the fact that academics isn't the only type of education. We believe that if we're going to teach a child education has to equal academics plus also social emotional learning, which is why we have some of the skills that we teach in our class. It also means, family time and how to be more personal with people and so forth. And so there was something neat that Liz had read to me, I think it was yesterday, about, we're so worried about our kids falling behind and they're going to lose, months of learning and they're never going to get that back. And this person had commented.
Let me just say, like, you guys have probably seen this if you're on social media at all. It's the what if story that's been going around on social media. All the what if schools closed for 2.5 months? How horrible would that be? And then all into the what ifs. Go.
Yeah, just the what ifs. What if our kids become more
organized
or sensitive to other people? What if they're more accepting? What if it reduces bullying? What if it gives them more self-confidence? What if they feel better about themselves? What if they use their imagination more? And it just kind of highlighted that, boy, isn't that true? We'd love to see our kids start to change that cycle of our kids feeling less good about themselves, having more mental health problems, right? What if the 2.5 months here now gives them the chance to actually work on themselves and to make better connections and stronger connections and more real connections? Boy, I think that I would certainly call that a win.
Yeah, and so for I don't think there's anybody here who's going to disagree with that, right?
I hope
the
not.
key
I don't know.
is putting that into, for us, behavioral terms, right? Of what does that look like in expectations, and that's where like this dialectical thinking, I think, is really coming in for us on what does that look like. Like, what are their needs? What are our values? And how we balance that? So, like yesterday, as part of my trying to be in the moment, but also demonstrate, like, hey, I'm serious about this, guys. Like, we're going to spend more time outside. We're going to do some other things during the day so that you're not sitting at the table from 9 to 3 doing your schoolwork. And I'm okay with that. And so we both had meetings in the mornings. I don't remember what we had in the mornings, but we had stuff in the mornings. And then we, as they were getting ready for lunch, I went and kind of like ransacked our garage and pulled out like every spring, summer lawn game we have. I pulled out the cornhole, the putting basket thing we have.
Chipping basket. Yeah.
Chipping basket thing. I don't play golf.
Yeah.
Can jam and spike ball. And just pulled them all out and said, like, we are eating lunch outside. It was sunny here in Seattle. And the lawn chairs and the cushions for the patio chairs, all that stuff. And they were like, what are we doing? And then we went outside and we ate and we played. And then we started to hear, what time is it? I think it's 12:30. I think we have to be back online. I have to go to class. What am I supposed to do? And I was like, no, we're staying out here. This is what we're doing today. But I might get in trouble. And I was just like, you're not getting in trouble because I said it's okay. And it was this balance of them checking out, are you guys really following through? Is it really that we don't have to go inside? Is it really that we're just going to play games? And they're like, oh, this is going to be our PE, right? Their minds were thinking oh, how is this going to make sense? And, and they did that for about an hour and a half. And then you had a meeting and I had a meeting and they stayed outside for a while. And then by the time we both got off our meetings at 2, all the kids were back inside just doing some schoolwork. Of some assignments they knew they had to get done before the end of the day.
I think it's hard because at first one of our children's like, yes, I'm not doing anything. The other one's like, oh, no, good grades are important to me. I want to get back there because it was going to be hard on his own self-esteem, right? He wants to get good grades. He wants to be in there kind of interacting. Liz is like, no, we're putting this all aside. And I'm kind of going well, let's not put all of it aside. And she's like, a 68, that's fine. I'm like, a 68, that's kind of low. Can we make it a 75 or an 80? And so we're going back and forth, right? So has anybody ever having that argument with your kids or a partner, right? Where they go one way, you're like, oh, can I push this just a little bit closer, right? And so it's a struggle that way. And so what we're trying to do is to say, okay, where do we find that middle ground? And I think our kids are saying, okay, where do we find that middle ground? Because they know in school they're being evaluated by their academics, and they know that their GPAs are going to drop. And I'm kind of going, I don't want them to drop that much, right? And so she's like, I don't care. And so, and we've had to try to figure out and discuss what classes we really want to feel like we want to really say, hey, this one's important, right? We identified these classes that were like, nope, we got to stay up to date on all these things. I want you to keep learning some of these things. There are other ones that tend to be more of the elective courses. We're like, you know what? If they don't get every assignment in for, let's say, art or some other class,
religion
or Spanish, something, we can be okay with that. Because the idea that we think is that we're not going to get this chance again. And we have been commenting for the last 5 years, boy, I wish we'd slow down. I wish we could spend more time with our family. I wish we could just sit outside, have lunch, and play in the yard for a couple of hours. Anybody else?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Catherine says that they're totally trying to figure out that balance right now. And you guys played out in the yard yesterday too. That is awesome, right? It's kind of when we get these nice days in Seattle, it makes a big push for us to all go outside.
Right. And I think that the important part there is that we don't know if we got the right balance today. We're going to keep revisiting though. Keep having that conversation. And it is. I mean, Liz was kind of on one side, and I was, let's go this way. Liz is on one side, I was on the other, okay. And so we're trying to find that middle path, and so she's here, I'm over here. I'm like, I think we're in the ditches on both of them. We need to get still this way.
And we have to get there so that the kids understand what we mean. And
we're consistent with the kids.
And we're consistent. And it'll be really interesting because for them, school ends at noon today because it's Good Friday. And then we have the whole week off. So then it's now we're all going to be there's no schoolwork for a week, which I think we're all really looking forward to, which kind of then brings us back to what do we do? Cynthia, I love the idea that you guys are going to be making masks over the weekend. Oh, masks become mandatory for you in your area starting Monday. Interesting. Okay. They're still highly recommended. I'm seeing more and more people wear masks here in Seattle every day, especially out on our walk. So that's been interesting. Hey, Jim, I think you're getting a bunch of texts from people trying to ask how to find where we are on Facebook Live today. So if you could just respond to that. I'm seeing that pop up on the screen here. We are not very good at this whole how do we advertise and tell people where to find us. Is that what that is?
No.
Okay, never mind. I thought that's what it was. Okay.
Your family.
I thought they couldn't find us. Sorry. So that's where dialectical thinking comes in. And I think really in this balance of helping to figure out what is the middle path. Do you think it'd be helpful to kind of walk through honoring the truth exercise on this?
I think you can do that. Let me...
Okay, why don't you go find markers. Yeah, and that. Okay, there's
Marcus
markers here.
I need a
Just
paper towel.
okay. And so that's what I want. Like, I thought we'd just show you this activity and way of finding the middle path perspective on dialect with using dialectical thinking. Versus it's easy to say like, oh, we're on one side and then the other, and how do we bring it together? But we have this one activity that we do that I think can be really helpful to see the different sides of a situation. And you can do this when you're struggling with your own questions about what to do, when there's disagreement or looking for a middle path between you and another person, in relationships, in work, decision making. Yesterday in our class we talked a lot about pros and cons, and how do you use the pros and cons of doing a behavior and pros and cons of not doing a behavior that we all talked about here a couple weeks ago, or a couple of episodes ago, about how to do that. And then the dialectical thinking is really about seeing the two sides of a perspective, of trying to look at what two people think on that. You want me to write and you talk?
No, you tell me what to write. You can talk.
Okay, so on right side, I want you to put academics.
Okay.
Right, and that side I think we want to put family time. Right, it's kind of really what I'm thinking about with all of this. You know, and family values. So it's like academic values and family values. I'm kind of working through this as we go with you guys, for us to think about. And I know it's backwards for people on Instagram. Sorry, I don't know how to fix that. If you do, let me know. But really, like, going through the two sides of like, all right, so why are academics important? What do we think are the things that why we value that, and making that decision
so that it's just not from us.
Yeah, and thank you, and put your comments, because like, what are the things that are important about that academic side, and then what are the sides on our family, and how do we actually, once we kind of go through this, we're going to really talk about how do we value and take into consideration what's important in both sides. Because I think one of the things that's really always sits with me about dialectical thinking is that we're not looking for compromise. We're not trying to get from black or white to gray. Because how many of us are ever truly happy and satisfied when we just compromise on something? It's like having a conversation, one of the examples we use in our curriculum, when your older kids are like talking about their curfew, or your kid wants to go out and play with some kids in the neighborhood, and you're telling them when to come home. It's like, I want to stay out till 1 a.m, but I have a 10 o'clock curfew. You know,
Sure.
It says secure future opportunities. Thank you, Cynthia. You know, and if they want to stay out till 1 o'clock in the morning on Friday night after school or after a football game, you know, compromise of just staying out until 11:30, does that really make anybody happy? Does that make your teenager happy? Does it make your, as a parent, satisfied? Often not. So this process is about going through what's important about from both sides, and then trying to come up with a synthesis, a middle path. I always think of it as, instead of gray, we're looking for polka dots or checkerboard, where we're honoring both sides of what's important to individuals.
Okay, so let's stop talking for a second, and let's ask you guys what's important to you on the family side and what's important to you on the academic side. And give us some information.
You know, and so on academics, for us, I think it's doing your best work.
Try to go back to this best work.
Trying to do your best work.
Cynthia talked about secure future opportunities, like college and jobs, I think is what was happening there.
Right.
Other people, if you get a chance to type in to your bars.
Yeah. The fact is that I think, like, if you're in middle school, going to some high schools, like, grades matter.
Well, I do for that. I think that okay.
Right. So like, grades matter, right, for the opportunities, like for college applications, for school. I think grades demonstrate mastery in a topic.
Okay.
In the academics, you know, you learn basic things.
Well, it also gets your interest in some type of area, right? So maybe it kind of helps hone your interest or select.
So what are the things you value? Because I mean, this is one of the places where, like, what do you value in academics?
Think, just their education, right? I think I'm like Cynthia, that, you know, I think that when they get good grades and can get into good schools, that the chances for their careers, I think, increase.
Right.
I guess.
It's
Success.
interesting how you notice how the word good, that judgment keeps getting in there, right? Like there is this value we put on grades because it's what you need to get into school. And so, and I think part of that is like for both of us, our families of origin, that was the benchmark.
No question.
Right. We both grew up in families like your academic value is based on your grades, your GPA, and that was the benchmark for how we performed and how we probably got praise in our families.
You did, right?
Yeah.
So,
like that was
report cards got evaluated, and
like my kids
rewarded.
know the stories of like when I was in middle school or high school and I made honor roll, honor roll, honor roll, and then I made superintendent's honor roll, which is like the higher level, and was very clearly told after that, like, oh, now that we know you can do this, honor roll's not good enough. Yep. Right, and I think we work hard to try to not do that with the kids, like that they get intrinsically motivated to do that. But that was just kind of like in our heads, like that family of origin, family values. That's what we experience.
All right, so and maybe people are just listening to us and having a harder time to writing things in. So what's important on the family side?
Right, connection.
All right, so Okay.
Connection. For me, it's connection.
What else?
Doing things together as a group. Like for us, one of the things that happens is we all do different activities, and we live like being in isolation right now is so the opposite of how our lives usually work, because it's usually like, we have 3 kids. They each do 2 activities, and so we are on like, Jim and I are overscheduled with carpool and soccer practice and ballet and softball and track and play and piano. Like we're always going, and our weekends are filled with everything. But we have one activity that we all do together, and that's skiing and snowboarding. So for 8 weeks every winter, January through mid-March, every Saturday is dedicated to going to the mountain, and it's the one thing that we all do together and kind of have fun with. And I clear our schedule every year to do that so we can all be on that. And so having a group activity, finding things that we can all do together to build that connection is important. I also just, it doesn't all, back to kind of last week talking about mastery, I don't think it all has to be fun, right? I'm also talking about time during this of like, learning to do some gardening and weeding. And someone just said there's delays in our comments. I'm not sure how to get that up there. Oh, look at that. Oh, I just found a bunch of things. Sorry, it didn't scroll. I'm going to come back to these. Thank you for that comment. I missed all your comments.
It's also reinforcing that people are listening there too. We're like, okay, just Cynthia's out there listening. That's good.
So like that bonding time and like learning new things. Like, can we do yard work, right? Normally the kids are so busy that they don't have time to do yard work. And we're working with Grace on how to clean and organize her room. And the same for the boys. So like some of these projects that are kind of more life skills. I think you've all heard me say maybe before that when I talk about like, there's many things that I learned in middle school and high school, but there's one thing that some of my friends and I talk about that has been the most useful thing over time is that typing. My keyboarding class in 8th grade has been a life skill that I've kept forever. So what are some of these life skills we can teach them on this side? So here's what folks are saying. Academics, it fosters a strong work ethic. Grades reflect the student's ability. Academics, being prepared for next year.
Ready for next step.
Staying consistent, maintaining to understand that it's important to meet expectations and follow through, right? Doing your best work. Being ready for the next step, especially like, for us, Jackson is in an advanced math, so he's taking pre-algebra in 7th grade so that he can take 9th grade algebra in 8th grade to prepare him to go for high school. And for one of his high school programs that he's looking at the public school, if he doesn't pass 9th grade algebra in 8th grade, I know this sounds a little crazy, this like shocked me, he's not eligible to get into this one biotech program at one of the public high schools. Like, just not an option for him for his entire 4 years of high school if he doesn't pass this class. And so, right, so we're totally getting stuck in what they want.
Okay, so I got strong work ethic. I think Cynthia said that. Ready for the next step. I think Julie gave us well-rounded person. Julie gave us, and I don't know, Julie, was that supposed to be for academics? I think it was, and then
I think it probably goes on both sides. Well-rounded person. I love what Catherine just said here, right? That the academics and pushing, and I think this is so key of what we're looking at, and like this is the fine line of you can't just decide to not do some assignment. Right? There are some things that even though you don't want to do them, you have to do them anyway. And that, I think, fits on this academics of that balance of what we're trying to teach the kids without saying, like, you don't have to do that if you don't want. Mom and dad don't think that's as important. And
so have to do.
The have to do is because somebody else assigned it for you and that's your responsibility even if you don't like it. Balanced with, we're making a decision of you don't have to do all these things this time. On that.
Okay.
So
family side.
Yeah.
Anything else on family?
Yeah, so
connections, group activity, family support, and bonding.
Right. Life skills of goal setting. How do we teach them to do some goal setting? How do we make up a plan for what they all want, what they want to get out of this? That's actually a really great idea. I love this idea of maybe it's not just what Jim and I want them to get out of this time at home and what the parents want, but really, what do the kids want to get out of it too? And setting up some of those goals. I like how Cynthia just like reframed this. It's a huge opportunity to do kind of those home ec type activities that were high priorities in past generations. Learning to sew, cook, garden, knit, all of those things. I can say like, it's been really fun. Like last night, Ashton helped me make dinner, and I don't think he's ever helped me make dinner before, to be honest. He came down and he made guacamole and he made refried beans. It was the easy refried bean recipe out of a can of pinto beans, but actually that was a first for us. Like, I'm not a huge cook and I was trying new things. And then the night before, Grace helped me cook dinner and we made linguine and clam sauce, and that was a lot of fun. And so just trying to do some of those home ec type things has been really exciting.
All right, Cynthia, I'm using your words of home ec, so no one get me in trouble for that, okay? So, with those typical things.
No, we all know what those are.
Well, I'm just saying. All right, so where's the dialectic now?
Right, how do we start to find balance on these things? How can we meet our desires for academics on one side and meet our desires for family connection, right? And so I can walk through this, and I want you guys to kind of think about this from home. I'm not exactly, throw your comments out. It's totally... Cynthia's saying how her 13-year-old sharpened all of their knives, and that will be skill will have forever. I also saw, Cynthia, your pictures on Facebook of your 13-year-old sewing masks better than his 3 older sisters, and that was really great. I love, Julie just said that there's this family time allows for passing down of values with lots of time to talk.
Agreed. I like that one.
So
put that one up here now too. So you're doing the dialectic now.
So the dialectical thing. All right. So how do we, find this balance and make this decision of, maybe it's that school is only a couple of hours. Maybe we finish school by lunch, right? I'm just coming up with an idea there, right? Does that give us more time to build connection and do great group activities? Yes, I think it does. The key, I think, is that we have to make sure we have some plan. This is always my balance, like, of not over-scheduling us, but also not under-scheduling us for something. Like, the moment, I think sometimes for our kids, that they don't have something to do, what do you think the boys and the Grace want to do? You guessed it. They want to go straight to video games on that. And so... we're trying to find that balance, and back to Catherine said earlier, like with family, you can't just decide not to do an assignment, and there are other things that are important. I love that, right? That's totally the both things that are true. So, I'm thinking about all these interesting points on academics: secure future opportunities, do your best work, get you well-rounded, ready for the next step, strong work ethic. I think we could figure all those have-to-dos with many of our family things, right? That maybe being a more connected person, being able to communicate and have stronger relationships is going to help secure your future opportunities. And get you ready for those next steps. And maybe the strong work ethic comes from getting them to do the housework and the weeding.
Right, so that they care about how it looks if they're cutting the grass or how they're weeding or if they're splitting wood, right? They care about what that is. So not only care about their math assignment or science assignment, they can care about some of the things that we actually do over here that are building the family connections and values. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Marie's saying, right, they do school from 9 to 11:30, and then their afternoon, they have to have a conscious effort of what they're doing, so they're not just sitting around. And I think that's where we are, right? Really shifting, like, what's our afternoon going to look like, and a more conscious effort, while simultaneously totally knowing that you have to work on that. And sometimes I have to work and kind of filling that out. But we're thinking about those things. But this has been helpful just for me, when I can look at this, like, we can work on all of these academic values and pieces that we want to do through a lot of the non-academic activities. And finding that balance, like Catherine said, and there are some assignments you still just have to do, right? And that you have to understand and work. So I think that's like the math side and some of like the writing side, especially like the grammar and spelling, when a couple of them aren't that great at it.
Right.
And they're just kind of those pieces, the reading comprehension piece of it.
Right, and you know, and a good example is that when, over the holidays back in January or late December, you know, Jackson for the first time learned how to split wood, you know, at our friend's house at the Giebels, and he wouldn't come out of there, and so he just kept going split, 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 and I was like, you can come in. He's like, no, I'm going to stay out here, because he liked what he was doing, right? And he wasn't good at it at first, and he got better at it and better at it. So I think it was just great. And so he enjoyed that, and he took a lot of pride in that, just like he takes pride over here on the academic side. So I think that we can do that.
Yeah, and so, I mean, it's more like, how do we help them build mastery in all those pieces? So I think that's the key. And so for this helping, I have to say, this was actually incredibly valuable for me to do. I mean, hopefully for you, I want to know what you guys kind of got out of this, to just see like these things that people are talking about that we value in academics. We can get a lot of that from doing get through our family values and the activities we want on that side too. Marie says they've been thinking of this. What do we need, each of us, but the kids in particular, that we now have the gift of time to focus on? Right, exactly. Like, what do they need instead of just doing what we always do because that's what we're supposed to do?
Or doing because they were told to do that by somebody.
Told to do it, or because, like, they have to go to soccer practice, they have to go to the soccer game, they have to go to ballet, they have to do this, have to do that, have to do that. Like, that's how our life normally runs. And
it might be that we have to take an inventory of what they want to do, right? Now, I am pretty sure my kids are not going to say that they want to weed. I'm pretty sure about that, right? Or
Grace would.
Yeah, maybe Grace would. Yeah.
Grace kind of likes to do...
Yeah,
all that.
As long as she's not alone out there doing it, you bet. That's true. So I think that asking what they want to do is important as well, so that we get their take, so that we can find that middle path. With that, I see it's 7:34.
Oh, sorry. Yes,
we should let our folks enjoy their Friday. It is Good Friday. If you celebrate Easter, happy Easter.
If you celebrate Passover, happy Passover.
Correct. And so enjoy your weekends. I hope that you spend a lot of time with your family. And that you have a skillful spring break if you're going to be on spring break, or a skillful weekend.
Yeah, and we'll still be here next week, even though we're on spring break. We'll be here Monday, Wednesday, Friday morning with you guys with the parenting, and then Tuesday and Thursday with the students class. And just would love to ask you to like our page, share it. We are not good, and I'll say I am not good, since you're not even on social media, at figuring out how to get this information out of there. We've been really blessed and fortunate this week that we've had a lot of media coverage around these different classes that we're doing, and we really appreciate that. So if you find it helpful, please screenshot it, share it out, and invite your friends to come to either of our classes, because we really just want to get this out to as many people as we can. So with that, have an amazing weekend. Be skillful. Give yourself lots of grace and compassion this week and into the next week, and we will see you on Monday morning. All right, take care, everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye. I want to change this one first.
Can you press end?
Okay.
We had 8 people there. Sorry.